Is it not live? Is it live? It says you're live. Here we go. Just gotta do that, so get the chat up. All right, here we go. So yesterday we messed around with getting the pen, some kind of pen drawing working here. So I think I'm going to go a little bit closer to the CtC editor method of clicking to place lines. So let's have a line here, and it would do something like this. And because this freeform drawing, we might add it, but it doesn't exactly jive with where we're going with this. So right now, handle drag move adds these line segments. So what we really want to do is we don't want to add line segments here. We want to connect the last segment to the current position, right? So instead of doing this, so handle drag start, that's when we go down. So what we really want to do is actually we want to add the start point twice, right? So we want to create a 2-segment line to begin with. And we're not going to push any additional... yeah. So what we're then going to do is we're just going to update the last position. And then we don't need to make this distance check. So the last point is this. If RC, if not RC is equal target last point, then we'll just do last point dot R equals target RC dot R. And the same with C. And then we're just going to render the path like that. And that should get us a... It shouldn't update the first. It is updating the first point though. Wait a second. Why? It's updating both points. Last point. Where did I see? We're not adding a second point. Because these are these are the same point, and I'm modifying the same point. So probably what we want to do is we probably want to clone them, make them independent. Does the RC class have a clone option? RC round mid dist to R. No. So I guess we'll just have to do this for now. I mean, it's all temporary. We're prototyping. Yes. Now, here we have drag start. We don't actually want drag start, right? We want input down. We want this one to actually start things, right? Because drag start results in a drag end, and we don't actually want to drag end here. Drag end. Actually, I don't know if drag end is an event or not. All right, so what we can do is, if we're not drawing, so I don't think drag start we're actually using anywhere here. Yeah. So what we can do is, if this dot is drawing, if not this is drawing, And that's true. This we get rid of for now. We're not using it. And then we'll do this. And then here, if, and obviously this needs to be separated out for this particular tool. If not, that is drawing return. So then we don't really care about the input move. Because drag move, okay, so we need input move here. Yeah, so we'll take it out of the drag stuff for now. And we'll move it into input. So that's where it belongs. Input down. Then we'll do this. It's drawing true. And then we can do if. So input move. If this dot is a drawing. Do this. This for now we don't need. If this is drawing, line points. All right. This is drawing. Do that. If this is equal to if. And then we can do the next. All right, input, move. Don't need that. And then input up. Actually, yeah. So to render path, let's get rid of that log spam. And that. Okay, we seem to have that under control. And maybe we do want to keep the little dot updated anyways. Which is this little bit here. Pause. Dot input pause. Get draw RC, target RC. I can do this. It looks like the line doesn't always align with the circle, but that could just be a visual glitch, maybe. Excuse me. My nose gets itchy when I stream for some reason. Maybe I'm allergic to streaming. We're not modifying anything else here, right? Can probably do this up here. Don't need to do this, and I don't think we need to do this. We can just update it and be done with it. So, click here, get our circle, start a line. Yeah, the line endpoint is not aligned with the circle on these partial. It is aligned here in the centers, but not in the quarters. Anyway, we'll fix that in a second. All right. So now, if not is this drawing, else... actually... we'll do this, right? Or do this in one line. Or the same thing we're doing here. Right. So, if we're not drawing, don't need to do that either. We're just creating a new line points array. And then we're still going to add it to it every time we get this up event. So that should take care of the initial second dot. Then I can press here and I can do this. Okay. So now we just need to connect it to that, and then we can add some options like arrowheads and so on. And then we'll take it from there. I think that's a good start. Now, one thing I'd like to change is the line style for the last segment. Unfortunately, that means we need 2 elements inside, inside the SVG. Unless we just always use this visual style. Basically, the last quote-unquote temporary segment I'd like to do in a different visual style. But it's not too bad, actually. So, did I not switch these all off? Yeah. The one thing it doesn't let you do is create paths, like for an arrowhead, that don't double back on themselves. Don't know if that's a problem. And maybe this connecting at the end isn't good either. Let me look at how we do it here. I think it just always connects. So if they do an arrow, it'll do this, and then they want to get rid of the last element, they have to go back and do this, for example. So they're probably already doing that. So that's actually not a big deal. So now, similar to what we did for the cages, we need to update the handler, change handle, blah, blah, blah. Section cages render. We need to do section lines render. And update UI. Section UI. So when we're drawing the cages, how did we do that? Handle cage. Okay. So really, the section itself wants to handle that code. So we're gonna pass that through to the sections. It seems so painful. Basically, all these input events. So we have a couple of options, right? Option 1 is the sections manage their own handlers and just hook straight into global, mouse move stuff. Option 2, we fire events here and then listen to those events in the sections. And option 3, we do the same thing that we did on the script tools handling. So if I go into the script file and then say, in fact, I can find the line because it wasn't a recent push. So stuff like this, right? So we kind of do this. So handle input down, and then render section. So this dot section. And we can do handle section handler. Oh my god, I'm so bad at naming things. Handle section handler. Now the question actually is, can I get the function name from here? not sure. Oh, come on. JavaScript get function name. Within the function. No, you can't do this. Ugh. Yeah. We're not gonna do this. So what we're gonna do is this dot handle section handler. And we're just gonna put the name in here. And then here, you're just gonna do this. Like that. Then we're gonna do this. And we'll see what we're gonna get. Handle section there, section lines. All right, and then we can do if type of section handler name function. Then we'll just call it like that. So once again, I do this. Handle section name, section lines, undefined, yes. That was expected. So now section lines could implement these. So we can do p.handle input down. And then that should just pass straight through. Section lines input down, right? So now we can confine all this code that we just did for the lines to the line section, and then all the code for the cells to the cells, to the cell section, to the case. Excuse me. My nose is not cooperating. I should really start posting to my Patreon when I go on live streams, I guess. I need to start planning ahead a little bit. Maybe do some Patreon-only streams. All right. So, most of this should now move up there. So what I'm going to do is, so I don't drive myself crazy, I'm going to split it like that. So then we go to the section lines and we have handle input down. And then we're going to move handle input down to up there. So we're going to do this. In fact, this render section will then go away and gets handled the same way. And then here, we're going to do this, blah, da, 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 da. That's all similar. I think that should just work. Get this dot get drawn RC. All right, let's probably move this to there now. Since we don't actually need it there anymore. Or we just make this a helper function. I don't think this needs references to this. just do this. All right. Nope. I expect it can't stop here. Close enough. Handle input down. All right. So we'll do the other ones. Handle input move. And handle input up. And now we have to add the... Okay, I'm getting rid of this now. We got to add these handlers for input move and input up. Like that. So input down, move, down, move. Up. Down. Up. Okay. Get rid of the log spam. And then basically clone this over. We can do this. Hit input move. Do a bunch of stuff here. Now, there's a couple other things we need to obviously bring over. So we don't have a marker. It's not this reference anymore. And there's no render path, obviously. Section lines and section handler. Handle section handler, super spammy. All right. All right. So now the render part that we're using is this. So we can actually just add a render path function here. Something like that. Guess. And we can literally just call this .render path in here. Something like that. Okay. Path part, line points, path part undefined, render path. All right. Where is the path part? M000. Okay. Line points. Put down line points. So they're here, but the path doesn't seem to be getting updated. Oh, wait. I missed a bit. That's why. Yep. Cool. And now it'll be much easier to bring that over into updating the UI as well. This is all being handled in here. And we basically don't even need render path anymore. And then all of this code we don't need anymore either. We actually want to move the cage handling in here as well. Something like that, right? Keep wanting to right click to stop drawing. We'll see. So when we're adding a line like this, so this should only happen if there's a line selected. So section handle add, section handle add. Component handle components change. And component change. And component change. This render is true. And component change. So we have selected component. So if there's no selected component, we'll just skip out. If selected component, defined. So we can't just start drawing, but now we can. All right, and then the moment we start drawing, we're gonna modify these components. Similarly, what happens here. So components element, cage, cells, this selected component, components. So I'll do some stuff like this. And we'll probably just this, blah. All right. Something like that. And now, the moment we change anything here, we're updating the component. Now in this case, we do this. We do this. Right, and we're rendering components. But how do we update the UI? Render, update UI. Section, change section, update UI. So we probably want to update UI here as well. So update UI, section lines. Okay, so the line itself needs to be updated now. So we have value length. Okay, cells render. This dot cells. This dot points. 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 So these points will be RC points, but they'll be fractional. So how do we want to visualize those? RC2 string. So we can either fractionalize them as an R something dot something. It's a good question. How does the editor fractionalize these things? I don't think it actually does. I think lines come through as... I think lines come through... Let's have a look at something like this, right? So these lines, for example... they come through... Almost, I get... Just like that, huh? So if I look for the raw data here, are they fractionalized? They are, and they're not converted to RC numbers, apparently. I could. Might be a good test of making sure that all our RC stuff is fractionally capable. Sorry, I feel like I'm stuck under the desk here. There's no space. Oh, I missed my chair. No wheels on this one. Ooh, I moved everything. Okay. Yeah. Oh, there's a slippery pillow on a chair that doesn't have wheels, so This whole situation is less than ideal. I can't wait to fix my chair. Oh, it's all so much money. Everything costs money. All right. I think internally, let's not convert back and forth. So what I'm going to do is convert or leave these as RCs. That's fine. So then component dot points equals this dot line points, right? This no, component dot points equals line points, and then does that actually? I don't think that already updates it. Oop, unexpected identifier 148. I left something unset. Oh no, I just pressed a random key. So points array. All right, and then I should be able to do this dot update UI. This dot update UI. And it breaks. All right, because these are already RC. So this should really have a toString. Something like toString. Yeah, I don't know when. Yeah. Let's not change things in the middle of something else. And we'll probably want to do this something like to fix 2 decimal places max. I think that makes sense. And then here we can do map, so rc.toString like that. To fixed. Should be correct. Invalid shorthand property initializer. Invalid shorthand. rc.toString p 4211. Invalid shorthand property initializer. There we go. No spammers yet today. That's unusual. Oh, nope. All right. So that gets us this thing updated. And then we should be able to do... Oh, okay, well, we're not doing that correctly yet. So now that I'm here, I actually don't like the trailing dot thing. Especially since the line seems to start over here. That's a little unfortunate, actually. We don't want to start the line there. So that means this handle input down happens later than the one that actually creates handle add, huh? So this happens earlier. Handle add, handle component change, render. That's so strange. Wait, I pressed this. Nothing, right? Nothing. Handle input. wait. Let's do this again. Pressing here, nothing. Ah, so the handle input down has already created something somehow. Wait a second. Go here. Go here. Add this. Add lines, render, handle input down. Why do we get a second handle input down here? Why do we get a second handle input down? Handle input down here. Is this not part of the same event? So, clear, and then I press this button once. Handle add lines. Handle component generator, handle down. So handle add lines gets triggered by the button, which apparently happens before input down happens. Nah. So we obviously don't want that. So it's like we need to ignore the first one after the line gets added. Stuff like that is really annoying. The thing is, we want to be able to click outside, just not this far outside. So we can do a couple of things. We can clip to the SVG itself, which might make sense. So we don't accept clicks outside the SVG. And then adding margins around the SVG is something we need to do in the editor explicitly. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's not easy to limit it. It does make sense to limit it to a certain number of squares outside the grid, though. Like, this doesn't actually make a lot of sense. Although I do hate limiting things like that. So that's one way of doing it. The other way would be just to kind of do a timeout of 0, so it skips one round sort of thing, which also feels kind of hacky. So kind of discounting the first click after pressing the button. I don't think the event actually gets passed through, which is maybe a little bit unfortunate. And we probably should pass the events through to them. I don't know why I wasn't doing that in the first place, to be honest. We probably want to do this. Think this might be the generally best way of doing it. Let's just use no. Let's just use the same code for them all. Handle input move. Handle input up. Handle drag start. Handle drag move. Handle drag end. Handle input down. Input move. Input up. Handle drag start. Handle drag move. Handle drag end. So that's 6 events here. Obviously, that doesn't actually solve that problem. Now we need to forward those events as well. Handle section handler. Yeah, handle section handler, those words are just word salad to me. So I'm gonna change it. I'm just gonna do this because maybe that makes a little bit of sense, even though we have... I mean, these are all input events, right? We probably should do this. And this. And this. And this. And move. And input down. 1, 2, 3, input up. That's already done. Oop. All right. And the handle section input gets the event data and forwards that. And here we're gonna do return. And then here we're gonna do return. And return. And return. And return. And return. And return. And that should clean all that up. Create a do another one. All right. Now what I found strange here. So here we're getting selections now. So we need to return true on some of these, right? And we do return true. Move, return true. And input up, return true. Ooh. Okay. Do I have to do this for all of these now? Let me see which ones didn't used to return in those places anyways. Not down. Not that one, not that one. Drag start. All right, so. And we'll drag start. Turn true. I think that should clean up the selections, right? And we can pass the rest through like that. All right, that brings that back. Okay. So now I think this is on input down. Or even on input up. Wait. Handle, input down, event, actual line, event, mouse event, blah, blah, blah. If event dot target dot tag name. I don't actually know how tag name is capitalized. So please tell me. Button. So if blah 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 blah. Ah, wait. If we go here, what do we get? This event, cell. Board. Cell, grid, board, HTML. we're never even hitting the SVG here. Well, at least that should create get rid of the false positive on the first add. At the line. With this. Okay. Hey, I feel like I'm floundering. This should be so much quicker. Okay. So. When we need a way of being done with a line, basically. So clicking here unselects the line, which isn't great. It doesn't happen here, interestingly enough. It doesn't happen with the cages. Alright, I think we should now also recreate or refix the cages behavior, because obviously we've now changed a lot of things, how it worked with the with these thingamajigs here, with these events. Now the one thing I don't want to have to do is replicate all the selection code, because there's a lot of it. Like all of this stuff. So let's just bring the event handlers over and see, because I would like to be able to just click to add cells, right? So that wouldn't actually be a bad thing. So let's just bring all of these things in here and see how that works for the cages. So input down, input up. And the drag events, I think. I don't think I want to deal with mouse move here. Don't think we need mouse move. Drag start, drag move, and drag end. So all right. And then we basically want to check. If I do a single click, I get a drag start, drag move, and drag end. So I might not need these at all. So obviously we're not gonna have selected cells now. We have to kind of generate those ourselves, right? So we're basically gonna do the same thing as we did with the lines. So we need to find the current component, something like that. Drag start, framework component, this component selected component. If component equals undefined, we return, else console.log. Now the draggy code doesn't handle cells already, right? No, it calculates its own here. So that we're actually gonna cook our own here. So we have xy to rc, get draw xy to rc exact, xy to rc, and then cell. Probably just want to do this. And the grid, I think, is on puzzle. But I think the puzzle itself has also something we can use, maybe. Nope. Puzzle. Get cell. Cells. Nope, let's just use grid. That's what it's there for. So let cell equals grid.getCell, and we have xy2rc, I believe, is on the app. App. All right. Something like that. And that gets us the cell. This would be cell at 0, 0, and then would be the cell at 8, 8. And I believe we never actually need the cell for this, right? We just need the RCs, really. So if we're rendering... where my cage is. The cage gets rendered how? Okay, so maybe we do need cells. Well, we need something that has rows and columns, so... but this will do. So then, the way we are managing selections here... Selected cells, selection continue. Selected cells.length is less than blah 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 blah. Deselect cell, handle drag end, handle drag start, select cell. We're doing a whole bunch of fancy stuff here though. Oh. Yeah, that's probably what I want. I want to keep that fancy stuff, right? I want to keep the fancy stuff. So maybe we can just... Alright. Let's do this here for a sec. I'm hoo-hawing and backing and forthing, and I probably should just step back and think about what I'm doing before I do it, to be honest. But I'm very close to my lunch break, so if I stop now, I'm going to stop for a while. I think, ultimately, I can use the selection, and I can then always modify the style to hide it. And modify the behavior a little bit, so we don't immediately deselect like this. Area where the tool can be used will help prevent future conflicts. Yeah, to be honest, this, I don't even know how this will render, right? And I generally limit the puzzle to a certain space around, at least the rendering of the puzzle to a certain area around. So we basically have the SVG that gets rendered from the parts, and then we have a little bit of buffer around it, right? That's the size of it. Now, I don't know if I want to let people make a very large puzzle with a tiny grid in the center, but at the same time, I don't want to stop it, because the point of the tool also is not to restrict people to what a puzzle should look like, but let people be creative and invent new things, right? So at the moment, I don't want... Basically, what you're going to have to do is, so there's going to be a tab here for setting up the puzzle in general, where you type in the size of the grid, and you'll basically have to say how much of a buffer you want around it, right? The margin, basically, right? But right now, I just want to get like the core things in place. So this should now give us selected cells. Yes, okay. So I think we can do this. And we can do this. And then And then we can do... Actually, we can probably then do this dot render. And we don't take care of this here. Yeah. Render happens. But components element. Components selected. Component page. Let's see. So, render, editable cell, and has 3 cells in it. Why won't that render? Components index of cage. Cage.toString. So, I wonder if I should move this rendering into the component itself. I mean, the component renders itself right now. Oh wait, it kind of does, yeah. Okay, so what's wrong here now? What's going on? Do we not have... editable cage, render cage. Oh. What does that look like? Boom. So we have the render. At the point of render, we have 9 selected cells. But editable cage.render is not called. Okay. So we don't get to here. We have cage. Cage is not... I think we need to get rid of this part now. Okay, we can keep that in there, I suppose. I guess that's kind of the old behavior. Yeah, alright. And then we just have to do this here and here. We can add a second one. Yeah, okay, so that's the old behavior back. Well, that's actually not too bad. Oh. How small can I make a Pac-Man? I think it needs to be this big, right? So I can have the smiley in here. Hey. Oh, it's a ghost. Alright, so that's the old cage behavior back. So at least we can actually use that code. In fact, we don't need a lot of other things. So we can... we don't even need to do this check in here. In fact, we don't even need any of this stuff. All we need to do is call render. And it'll work just like before. Yeah, okay. That's actually even better. Don't know why I didn't try that first. So now I just want to get rid of any cage rendering related stuff from down here. So we don't need render path. We don't need render section either, I think. Yeah, I don't think we need that anymore either. Let's deprecate that. And then I think all that stuff just gets forwarded. Okay. Now change to lines. Add a line. Draw the line. Another line. Now, in the moment, we don't have support for multiple lines. But if I go back to cages, add another cage, and then we can go back to lines, and we can still edit the line. All right. So, yeah, it makes sense to get all of that code out of there. So then we want to just get rid of this. Get rid of this. I don't think there's anything of value in there. Don't need that. Don't need that. We don't need any of this. I think it's all brought up now. Don't need to pass these through. Yeah. I think that's all we need. I think I'm gonna single line those because they really don't deserve 3 lines. They were just forwarding stubs. In fact, I could probably just replace them with a bind. The problem is that this doesn't exist here yet, so... I wish you could bind without binding this. You know what I mean? Just bind the first argument and then pass it through to whatever applies this to it after the fact. But anyway, this is fine. All right. And do I want to delete this? Just make sure it still works. Okay, cages plus 5 cage plus. Yeah. And we should be able to switch to a different tool, make a new selection, and go back here. Obviously that selection will override the thing. We got to clean that up. That means we can get rid of these. And we can get rid of these. And I probably can merge the update, UI update stuff into the render function. All right, and handle tool button. Okay, don't do anything with that at the moment. Don't think we need that actually. All right, that gets rid of some of that code. I think I'm gonna make it a short stream today. So my brain is slowing down. I'm gonna have lunch and then I'll do a proper stream in the afternoon. But at least I'm getting through some of that UI stuff, which is always a bit tricky. So the next step is to make the line tool let me, edit multiple lines and add the sort of other properties section down here for things like arrow, line size, and so on. So what do we have here? We just have color and thickness. Now for arrows here, they work the same way. Yeah, and I'd like to be able to click on the button on the same dot again to remove it, rather than adding more dots and stuff like that. You know what? Let's do a little bit of a to-do list here. So lines at thickness / color / arrow at props. Cages, hide selection, Update selection style. Lines. That's the more important part. Lines. Actually, let's just do this. Edit multiple lines. Separate. I'm tempted. I was just thinking, when you're drawing a line, what if this fades out the further away you go from it, so you don't drag this huge thing around? On the one hand, I want that. I don't want it to be just invisible when I click the line is there. On the other hand, as you're moving out of the area, I mean, I could always just hide it as the moment you leave the area. It's such a silly stylistic thing that I don't really want to spend time on it. Lines. Click. Exists. The thing is, okay. Sorry. Not vocalizing very well. What I want to talk about is, so I've created, let's say, a line here. Now I want to be able to delete the dots. Now, what happens if I press this dot? Well, I don't actually want to delete it. I want to make a triangle, right? But if I press this dot now, I want to delete it. So I think the deletion should only apply to the last dot. Similar to the pen tool where if I do this, you know, I erase. If I draw the line here and then go over the line, I don't erase it. But if I go back over the line, it erases the last dot, basically. The selection is back for the pen tool. I think I changed that. Whoops. Did I change that in the pen tool file? I gotta be careful because that might be hard to find later. Tool editor. Tool. I'm looking for a change to tool pen. Which, thanks to rebasing, is now kind of being pushed into the history. Might have not been the best idea. Tool editor. I think the tool editor changed that style, and then the pen tool suffers from that. All right. Click last point to erase. Basically, I don't know how to finish a line properly. Because I'm thinking, like, let's say if I were to right click here and it would stop dragging the line, but then how do I reconnect to the line? I mean, the other thing I can do is I can have little markers, so the little yellow circle could pop up if I want to continue the existing line, right? Because if I go to an arrow, let's say, go here, and I go back here, and I click now, it instantly makes another point, right? And to erase the last point, I have to press here. And being able to press here might be obviously more useful. It's just, it's not clear how it works here. That's what I don't like about it. While here, with the draggy thing, it looks ugly, but you immediately know, and it's easier to make a straight line, all that stuff. So I think functionally, it's better. Let's say I placed it wrongly. I just want to click here and then remove it. In fact, I think that probably should be pretty easy to do. Input down is drawing. We had to compare. No, we have an RC compare. RC is equal, right? Yeah, let's see if we can do that quickly. RC dot is equal. I'm slipping under the desk. I miss my chair. I'd love it for it to be usable on mobile. I'm a bit worried that if I try to make it usable on mobile, I will spend 80% of my time to make a product that's only 50% as good. Because it'll be very hard to do it well on mobile. But on the other hand, when I was working SudokuPad, a lot of people asked, hey, you know, can I want to be making my puzzles on the train or whatever. So it's a bit of a, I mean, one of the features I've been thinking about is to doing a pan and zoom version of the grid. So if you can zoom in on mobile for editing, then you can place lines maybe more accurately. So I'll try to make it mobile friendly as much as I can. And you're right, there should be a right click then. But then on mobile, you're not dragging either. So on mobile, you'll never have that. On mobile, you only have tap to connect, right? So this dragging is never gonna happen on mobile. So line points. So that should tell me if the current target point is the same. So I go here, and then I click on here again, is equal. Ah, shoot. Wait a second. Is equal true. How is it equal here before I've pushed target RC onto it? Okay, that's a little suspicious. Something isn't quite right here. Something isn't quite right. So that's 2 points. This is the third point. But target RC and the last point on the line are the same. And at this point, I should be drawing, right? So there shouldn't be the initial point. What if I'm confused? So I click here. So I have a line with 1 point, and I click here. At that point, the line has 2 points. Now it has 3, right? But at the moment I clicked, at this point it shouldn't have two. Wait, no, yeah, it gets added to 3 points. 0, 1, 0, 1, 2. At the point I click here, 5, 4, 5, 5, 9.5, 5.5. 9.5, 5.5. So that was the third point. Is equal true. Oh, okay, because the last point is the preview. So the last fixed point, it would be -2 here. Okay, I thought I was going crazy. Yeah, it should be a soft UI problem. Although, don't make the mistake to think there are smarter people out there always. I always thought that, and then I find out that the existing stuff isn't actually any good. So, boom, and now if I click on this again, it's true here where the other ones were false. All right, so if is equal, turn. Don't need to do anything. Don't need to render path because it's already been rendered at this point. Because we haven't changed anything, so it should be rendered from move, right? So go here, here, here. Ah, wait. Ah. We actually want to actively remove a point as well. So this dot line points dot pop and render path. Can read properties of undefined line points. Can I read properties of undefined line points? Lines of points. All right. Never make the mistake to think you can type. So, the square. S. No, I made my change my mind. Now go back. Now, in this case, for deleting, maybe I'll do like a snapping, because let's say you go here. And then maybe just have a like press delete. Let's say. So I don't think keyboard presses go through. So this would be, yeah. The thing is, on mobile, it will be so hard to kind of accurately hit the exact fraction of a cell, right? So the mobile experience might have to be a little bit, let's say on mobile, maybe it only goes to half instead of quarters. And if they want to do a super fine visual thing, they'll have to do it on desktop. Just because on mobile, to expect people to be that accurate is, yeah, it does make a lot of sense. And it wouldn't be fair on them. Well, I also can't, because we're rendering a path, so we can't break it into segments and all that stuff. Well, there isn't any zoom level, so that's a separate feature, pan and zoom. For the editor, we might have to create a zoom thing, but remember, we're limited in what we can do, right? I mean, that's the size of my finger. Like, it already basically cannot distinguish center from edge lines on mobile. That's already a feature I want to add, so you can deliberately toggle those, because to get it to do the right thing is very tricky when your fingers, I mean, on a phone, my finger is 2-3 times the size of a cell, right? So I'd have to create a pan and zoom version. And again, that's a whole other can of worms and hours of work and lots of problems, and it doesn't work, and then Safari does a stupid thing, and then iOS does a stupid thing. So yeah, there's something I don't like about this. It's a little fiddly, especially since, like, I don't always see which point I'm at. And then I press the link, yeah. I mean, I definitely can support hotkeys on desktop. The only problem is right now, I don't think I'm passing hotkeys through. So I don't think the key handlers, where do they pass through? Temp key? Ah, no, they do pass through. Didn't I do it in one of the other tools? Wasn't there like key handlers, I seem to recall? Yeah. So, yeah, all right. So, so that should be key handlers, and if I press delete, it does this. Okay. Okay. So let's see if we can pass it through to the tools as well. Handle section input. So we can do something like this. If that section, that's there. If type of section. Handle key. Handle key event. So then we should be able to do something like handle key. something like this. All right. And then maybe we'll do something like p dot delete last point. If the starting point dot length is greater than 1. Don't actually know how it'll work if there's 0 points. I hope that won't screw up. And now I just need to make sure we're actually drawing, etc., etc. If not is drawing, turn. So we can do a button for points, and we can do that. Now what happens if I delete the last one? Ah, okay, it doesn't blow up. That's actually pretty cool. All right. Yeah, I had it already. The code isn't there right now. Highlighting the line endpoints. Yeah, all of those things. But I don't want to spend a lot of time right now on visual effects when most of the functionality isn't there yet. If in delete last point needs a return. If delete last point. If in delete last point needs a return. No, it doesn't, because there's nothing happening after. Oop. So setting R. Okay. Handle input move. Handle input move. Bam. Last point. If is drawing, okay. And line points dot length then 0. Line points is not defined. All right. All right. Lines. So the last point, obviously, need to clean that up and all that stuff. All right. Eventually, I'm gonna have to do these kind of prettifications. So that's done. I'll just delete it. So let's make some notes on those. Hide last temp point. And leaving section or deselecting line. Section deselecting component. What else did we say? Show marker dots on subgrid. Show highlight on next dot or deleted dot. I mean, if I put too many markings in, we get a different problem, right? The other thing I was thinking, I'm tempted to highlight every dot, like a circle in every dot, because the line doesn't tell you if there's a dot here or not. And that would be potentially important for an arrow, to make sure an arrow doesn't skip cells and stuff. That's the other thing. How do you handle an arrow that goes across 3 cells? I think I'm handling that on the import side, though, so you can draw a line across 3 cells, and it actually notices that it passes through all 3 cells. I mean, it's only a visual editor, so maybe I can get away with ignoring that problem altogether and just draw pretty pictures. We'll have to see. I wonder if maybe make the subgrid adjustable. Make subgrid adjustable. Because then I could, you know, because most people might only need half grid points anyways. It might be easier for them to snap, you know, to half cells basically. You know, centers and edges. Or even have it toggle just edges only. Yeah. For the cages, and we also want to. Yeah. That's something that's been bugging me for a while. Remove cage highlight and changing section or deselecting cage. I'm still not sure if I actually want to support not having something selected. Like now this one is selected, right? But right now no line is selected. And if I select it, I can deselect with a cage. I can select it, but I can't deselect it for some reason. I don't actually know why. Why? Why should iris be limited to 45 degrees? This is exactly the problem with the other tools. That's the only reason I'm making this in the first place, is to overcome the problems in other tools. For example, if somebody wants to draw, let's and I've seen this before, right? So somebody might want to do this. For example, and then they want to do this. I don't know, some weird shallow angle, and they want to go around a corner, and they want a curvy arrow, right? And then they want to have a big chunky central arrow that just does that, and that's much thicker. So let's say somebody wants to draw something like that, you know, who am I to stop them? That's the whole point of having the cosmetics, right? So they can do things that don't necessarily make sense in a technical sense, right? Maybe they want to do a curved arrow, you know? Maybe they're coming up with a new constraint and stuff. Yeah, I mean, the way I see it in the future is, the way I always envisioned is that you have a strict feature representation, something like F-puzzles, for example, and then you can adjust it, right? So you would have a feature arrow that might be constricted to 45 or whatever, right? Not even that. Forget 45. You're not drawing an arrow. You are selecting cells, right? You simply say which cells are on the arrow. That's the feature. And then you have an automated system that takes that set of cells and renders an arrow. That could be primitive, just drawing the arrow through the centers. It could be more advanced, like Sudoku Studio, where they try to say, okay, if there's 2 arrows passing through the same cells, we're actually drawing both of them slightly off-center, etc., right? And then finally, you would have a cosmetics step where you can then take those arrows, you can hide them completely and do whatever you want. You know, they'd be hidden arrows, for example. Or you can adjust them. You can move the points around, add additional points, make a curve, whatever. Or even upload a little PNG that represents the arrow, you know, like a little cartoon drawing. Maybe you want a dog instead of an arrow, right? So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the background PNG feature is already in the code. It's just currently hard-coded to a couple of test cases. So it's in the experimental settings. Right? So these puzzles, for example, already have it. And I think currently I have to add experimental. Yeah, so for example, this would be the Pac-Man puzzle. Or this one. Not this one, that was just a test. Yeah, something like the Frogger one, right? And I've always wanted to make this a part of the puzzle definition. The only issue there is, or the main issue there is, where does the picture come from, right? So if it's hosted externally, first of all, you immediately have cross-site scripting issues. You know, somebody suddenly can track puzzles on my site. You know, it might not be a great idea. Or you need a puzzle upload, and then suddenly it's up to other kinds of problems, right? So one of the ways I will suggest, or was thinking of doing it, is to have it as SVG data. Now you can base64 encode something into SVG, so you might want to have some checks on it on maximum size and all that stuff. And I think it's mostly interesting for adding like custom symbols, you know, instead of just Unicode characters. I don't know. There's a couple of technical issues, you know, that aren't easy to solve. If in the future I build a full site with login and setter accounts and stuff, then I can do it. Then I can host the images, you know, let people upload them. They check a box, yes, I have copyright to the image, etc., you know. Because like, what am I going to do if somebody uploads a penis or something and then posts it on Logicmaster Germany or something? That's a surefire way to get into trouble. I mean, now that I'm saying it, I also am aware that, you know, these kind of things are easy to do and always going to be problematic. And there's always going to be somebody who does stuff like that, right? So, gotta be careful. But there's only so much I can do in an automated fashion. All right, I'm gonna take my lunch break. I hope I'll do another stream this afternoon. Oh, by the way, store.svencodes.com. I don't know. I got sidetracked this morning and I did that, but I don't really expect anyone to buy this stuff yet. But maybe over time, I'd love to get an artist to do a nice version of my dog here for merchandise and stuff like that. Just another way of supporting the tools, I guess. But you know, it's not ready yet. Like I need to set up more. I need to get the items myself, see how they work out and all that. But it was a fairly quick setup process, so I didn't waste too much time on it. All right, I think that's it for the morning session. I'm gonna look at a couple of these. I think before I go into like making it clean and stuff, I think the main thing is I needed to be able to add lines, remove lines, add cages, remove cages, adjust all the parameters, you know, the value, the line styles itself, etc. Then I need to add the main core features for underlays and overlays. I still haven't quite determined if I'm gonna do them similar to the CtC editor, where they're just basically rectangles or circles, right? Or rounded rectangles, basically. The other option would be to say, okay, hey, you can actually select cells, but it's not really cell-based, so it's really just rectangles. And then finally, we need basic stuff like given digits and stuff, board size. And then it's gonna be getting pretty close to letting people build basic puzzles. I don't know if at that point, I might want to release it as an experimental feature at that point. And then the final step would be to make it 100% compatible with CtC. So basically anything the old CtC editor can do, this can do, just in a nicer, easier to use way. And then actually switch Simon and Mark over to start using it instead. Yeah. Oh, and another project I've been working on is my own URL shortener. So under tinypuzz.com, I want to set up a URL shortener where you can set up an account and then create tinypuzz.com shortened URLs instead of tinyurl. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna take a lunch break and hopefully I see you guys in the afternoon. Thanks for stopping by. So Laurel UK 101, NFS Held, not NF Shield or anything like that. All right, NFS Held and Mark Tech Fan. Thanks for stopping by. Really appreciate you guys hanging out. You know, usual places. Subscribe, it really helps. I need to get to 100 to get my custom channel name. And obviously patreon.svencoast.com if you really want to help out. In the future, I'm going to start doing Patreon-only content. Maybe I'll do a hangout stream where, you know, I literally just do Patreon-submitted features together in a live stream, and I'll try to do that at a US-friendly time, maybe Sunday nights or something like that. My nights, your Sunday mornings, I guess, or afternoons. I don't know. Time zones are complicated. That's it. Thanks for hanging out. Really helps. Take care and have a good afternoon. See you in the next one.